Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today we're going to be going over the basics for beginners on Sony Vegas Pro 17. Now, I do want to apologize if I ramble a little bit in this video, or if I go too fast, or if I do miss some things. I don't have a script in front of me, and I feel like I just wanted to kind of go with the flow, use the editor like how I normally use it, and just kind of show you guys how to use Sony Vegas if you're brand new to it. And if you are, congratulations, welcome in. And I hope you have a good time. And if you like these kind of videos, I would love to see some comments in the comment section below letting me know maybe what kind of videos you'd like to see from Sony Vegas. Like if you want to see a tutorial on a specific effect or a specific thing you want to do, just let me know, because I really don't know exactly where to go from this. And I love making tutorial videos, so I'll definitely be making more in the future. Anyway, we're going to be getting into it. This is the basics, so this is the bare bones, bare minimum first time use basically of Sony Vegas Pro 17. I'm going to show you how to basically set up a new project, get a clip inside of it, edit it a little bit, and then render it. I'm not really going to go into too many specifics or really advanced features yet. That will be in a future video. And then yeah, so let's get into it. So the first thing you do when you open up Sony Vegas is normally it's not going to show up and look like this. I set this up to make it look the way I want it to. The really nice thing about Sony Vegas is you can edit, honestly, the entire program to be where you want it to be. So, for instance, you can make your video display as big or as small as you want it to be. You can even make it non-existent for some reason if you don't want to see your clip, which would add extra room over here to see your media. Especially even on the right side here, you can make your volume levels, your mixer, I should say, smaller or wider. And same with your timeline. You can drag it up and down and make it the way you want it to be. I do like this. It does help a lot with video editing, especially if your timelines get really crazy and hectic like mine do sometimes when you have, 100 plus different video tracks and audio tracks. It really helps have it, wider or smaller. So that is by far the first thing that's going to come to mind is you want to make it look the way you want it to be. I normally have my timeline about almost half of the display, and then I have my media pretty small. Usually my display is mostly so I can see a bigger version of what I want to make. The next thing is, more often than not, you will automatically get this popped up the first time you open Sony Vegas, but if it doesn't come out for some reason, you always want to go to File and start with a new project. And this new project window is going to always pop up. It's going to show you your templates and all that stuff. Now, I already have a template made that I start with every video. If you want to pause it and copy everything I have here, this is pretty much what I use every time I use for a 1080p, 60 FPS frames per second video uploaded for YouTube. Now, obviously, if you want to render in higher quality, you're going to want to do a new template. Luckily, Sony Vegas has a lot of these pre-made, and they're pretty good. So if you want to do 4K, I recommend just choosing the 4K option, the 16:9, 24 frames per second. And obviously, if you click on this, you can then change the frames per second down here to 60 if you really want to do that, if you have a really high-end PC. Now, I have a pretty good PC, but I don't really prefer going higher than 1080p for YouTube videos. I really would only record in 4K and upload in 4K if I was to, let's say, make a DVD video or something for more professional use. But for now, we are going to keep it at 1080p. I'm going to switch the frames per second to 59, which is actually 60. The rest can be all left untouched pretty much. I usually leave this at 8-bit. Make sure your full resolution is at best, and your motion blur is at Gaussian. That's really the best looking one. A big one is resample mode. You want that disabled. Now, a lot of people ask, like, what is this exactly? It's hard to explain, but the editing software, let's just say if you have it disabled, it'll make your renders twice as fast and less glitches. I've had a lot of glitches in the past where I've rendered a hour-long video, which took almost 6 hours to render completely. But after I got done rendering and I watched it back, every 4 minutes or so, there was a giant black, 5 seconds of video. Like, the audio would still be going, but the video would cut out and just be a black screen. I looked up for countless different forums, and everybody said, make sure your resample mode is not on smart resample by default and make it disabled, and that will not cause the black screen issue. So definitely keep that in mind. Just disable resample. And then choose which folder you want your project to be saved in. I just have it as the preferred one because I don't really save projects very often. And then I start all new project with these settings just to make it easier for myself and hit OK. And then that won't pop up anymore if you have it saved like that. If you ever want to change it, again, just file in new. Now, once you've gotten past that part, you are now in your 1080p setup with your 60 FPS. You can see it by here, the project, and it shows your preview as well. We're going to include a video clip. So now let's say you went out, you shot your video, and you want to add it to the software. So we're going to go up to Import Media. It's going to automatically pick a random folder on your computer. Mine is set to what my last recent area was that I dragged a video from. And I'm just going to bring in a video that I already made for YouTube, which is my Trenches Suck video from Death Stranding. I highly recommend you check it out. It was a lot of fun making it, a lot of fun recording it, and I hope you guys like it. So once you double click it or drag it in, it'll look like this. You can scroll through it now, which is pretty nice. I like this because you can see kind of where you want to drag in the clip. But we're just going to grab it, bring it down to our timeline, and let go. It automatically brings into your timeline the full clip. You can even see the audio levels as well. If you click in to the clip, you can see where the cursor goes, and that's where you're at in the video clip, which is pretty nice. And you can see up here it's changing as well, which is, you know, a live feed, very good. If you have a decent to high-end computer, you can even scrub through it and it looks less choppy. So that's kind of cool. So you can see exactly where you need to be. If you want to use your mouse wheel, you can scroll in to zoom in on the timeline. Get very, very, very close to frames, so you can go frame by frame, which is super nice. You can see like how fast this is going by because of how zoomed in I am. And you can zoom out as well. One thing I like to start with all my videos is an easy fade in effect. If we click to the very beginning, you can see I already have this on my video. But let's actually shorten the video by just clicking and dragging. And it's going to start around, let's say right here. So I'm going to click and drag the entire thing back to the front. So for instance, if I left this right here and I were to render this video, the first 2 seconds would be completely black screen. So it doesn't act like this isn't actually here. It acts like this is literally a space. So you want to drag this all the way back to the front before beginning clipping and all that stuff. You want to make sure that this starts at the very beginning. Now, to add a fade effect, which is super easy, by the way, this is new, I believe in the 17 version of Pro. I've had every version since Pro 9, and I have only seen it in this version. But to add a fade effect, you click right in this little corner, and you can see this little symbol pops up. It looks like a little tent, I guess, or a 90-degree angle. You just click on it and drag it out, and you can see it starts to make this like little wave. You can bring it out as far as you want. And now if you watch the video, it'll fade in. Oh, that was a little quick, so let's drag it out even more. There we go. You see that like easy transition of a fade. Very nice. And that's how you make a fade effect. You can do the same thing with the audio too. So same thing right in the corner of the audio, drag it out, and then you'll hear the audio fade in as well. I have it really quiet, and I apologize. I'm going to turn it up a little bit for you guys. So here we go. There we go. So pretty cool. Pretty nice. Now, let's say you want to get that out of the way. Now, let's say you're going down the line and you see an issue with the clip, like a part you messed up. It's a blooper or whatever. You want to clip it, right? You want to click it and trim it up. Now, find this part in your video clip. Let's say it's just right here. Hit the S key on your keyboard, S as in Sally, and it'll clip it. There you go. And you can also now drag this part away. And then you can even go to the part, let's say it ends here, where you come back to the end of the issue, I should say, the part you want to get rid of. Again, S as in Sally. And now you have this one part that's completely separate from the rest of the clip. And then you can right-click on it. And then from here, you get a lot of options, ton of options. You can copy it, you can paste it, you can cut it, you can delete it. Boom. It is now gone. And that's how you cut and trim pieces of the video. It's really that simple. It's pretty easy. Sony Vegas makes it pretty intuitive. I know a lot of editors work in the same regard with keyboard shortcuts, but I just really enjoy the way this works with the S key. It's second nature. And again, right-clicking gives you a lot of options. You can do a lot of things from this area. Not too much we're going to get into today because a lot of these are more of advanced features, like the switches and the groups and the stream and synchronize, all this stuff. There's a lot of options here, but we're not going to get into that quite yet. Now, another thing is, let's say you wanted to add a background track, a song, for instance. So if you want to add another video clip or another video track or another audio track, go to this big gray space or just blank area, right click on your mouse, and you get three options. You want to do the insert audio track if you want to add a background track, and it'll pop up just down here. Same thing if you want to add a video track, like let's say you wanted to add text on your video. We'll get into this in a second, but that's how you add a video track. But for audio, right? So let's say we want to add a background track. So let's go back up to our import media, and I'm going to find where I have my stuff saved for my sound effects. Background music, here we go. So let's just put a sad theme song. And there we go. Now it's imported, and we're going to drag that down to that second audio track area. So now we have the first audio track from the video, you can see, and then we have the audio from the sad music. And if we play it together, you're gonna hear the music now. And you can hear it's the song from Rick and Morty. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're going to, let's say we don't want our sound from the video clip. Let's say we just want to get rid of it. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. One way is just to mute the entire track. So you can hit the M up here and just mute it. That's one way that I recommend doing for during the editing process. Now, when you actually render the video, I've never actually attempted this, but I'm assuming that if you render the video, even if it's muted, it's still going to put the sound in the video. So what I recommend is if you don't want, if you're just muting an entire track anyway, you might as well just right-click the track and delete it. And that gets rid of your entire audio from the video. I'm going to edit, undo that. But it's just, I recommend doing that instead of just muting it and trying to render. Another thing is, another way to do it, if you want just a specific spot of the track deleted, the easiest way to do this without dealing with groups and more advanced techniques, the easiest way to do this would be to, let's say you trim it, and this entire section right here, you do not want the audio from. What I do, I click it, I drag it down, and I go past like any other audio tracks I have. It'll automatically make a new track, as you can see down here, and then I just delete the track. Just right click, delete track, and there you go. That one section now is gone of audio, but the video is still here. That's the easiest way to do it, I found, with Sony Vegas. I mean, there's definitely other ways to go around it, but as a beginner, that's by far the easiest way to do it. Now, and then you can just drag in the audio from the music. And if you want to trim it, obviously to only have the music in that section, again, just S as in Sally, and make sure that obviously the part you want to trim is selected. And now we got it cut, and we can get rid of the end of it by right-clicking, delete. And there you go. And you can even make it look more cleaner by dragging it back up into that area. And now it looks like it's part of the video clip. It even changes the color for you, which is pretty nice. And the cool thing is with Sony Vegas 2, with each track, you can change the color of it if you want to make it look, the way you want. You can also name it by double-clicking, naming it like video, audio, and stuff like that, which is pretty nice. You can really edit it any way you want. Same thing with the video clips, or the video tracks, I should say. So if we were to play this. Oh no! There you go, cuts in. It's kind of cool how that works. Next thing is, if you want to add like text over your video, this is a pretty common thing, so I wouldn't think this is more an advanced feature. Again, we already have the second video track. I don't know why I keep forgetting that name, but video track is already up here. If you don't have one, again, just right-click in the blank area and insert video track, and it'll pop up on top. Video tracks usually always pop up on top. Audio tracks always on the bottom. And you can tell which is which by this little film reel clip or whatever, film, I don't even know what you call that, film piece. You can see that here and here. And then you have the little speaker for the audio tracks. So that's one way to differentiate between video and audio tracks. Another way is with the volume sliders, or with the audio tracks, where the level is all you have for the video, for the opacity. So let's say you want to add text over this, right? We're going to right click in the new video track, and we're going to say insert text media. This little window should pop up, and it's pretty self-explanatory for this window. Basically all you're going to do is you're going to type in what you want, big oof, and then from here you can even click out here and you can drag it around where you want it to be. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want, really. It's kind of cool. And then from here, you can change the text color to any color you want. Let's just do blue. You can add an animation if you want. You want to do like a certain transition. You can even scale it. So you can do advanced here. You add a different background. I usually do an outline just to make it look a little better. So we'll do a black outline here. We'll make that a little bigger. And just in case you didn't see it, these are hidden by these little arrows. So just drop down and there you go. These little clocks over here, this is more of an advanced feature, so I'm not going to get into it, but you can animate them to do things over time with keyframes. That'll be in a future video, do not worry. Once it's uploaded, I may come back to this video and put it as a subtitle, but for now, we're not going to get into that. You can also add a backdrop shadow. But yeah, from here, that's how you add text. So now, once you play it, boom, big oof. And then from here, you can also make it as long as you want by dragging it out. So if you want the text to last the entire clip, it'll be in the entire clip. Same thing if you make it shorter. It'll only come in at that part, as you can see. And you can also do the same thing with the fade effect. So if you zoom in a little bit, you can click up in the corner of it and drag it out. And now you got a fade. So the text slowly fades in. It looks, more professional. Another thing you can do is you get these 4 options up here. Now, this little like square box thing, I don't even know what you call that. It's the event pan/crop window. If you click on that, it'll bring up a window where you can actually edit a little bit easier on where it is on the screen. So by default, these are all going to be selected. I'm not going to get into too much specifics here because it is a little bit confusing. And again, this is just a beginner video. Now, you can have just where it is, I guess, if you didn't want to move it. But if you click and drag this square, you can see it manipulates where the text is, which is pretty cool. So this is also another way to move it around the screen. And you can look at live feed of, what it's doing, which is pretty nice. So you want it like down in the corner. That's pretty much the easiest way to do it. And then when you're done, you just exit and it'll stay where it's at. As you can see too, it did this automatically because I have it in a setting to do this, but I actually animated it. So I guess I can say this real quick because this is actually pretty simple to explain. So you see these little keyframes down here under position. You can see if you drag out, if I move it, like if I'm right here and I move it, you can see it adds a keyframe automatically. Now watch. If I drag back, you can see it's moving, right? It's doing it for me. So because in this first keyframe, I had it here, and then at the 4-second mark, I moved it way up there, it animates it. So it actually flies to that position in between these, second intervals. Now, if you wanted to be crazy, you could manipulate it all the between here too. So like I could do that, and if there's an interval there now, I could do that, I can do that. And every time you move it, it makes a new interval. And then look at that. Now watch, if I scroll through here, it's going to be bouncing all around to trying to match the time of my intervals. And that's essentially how you animate. That's literally how you animate text in Sony Vegas. Now, again, if you don't want that, you just right-click and delete each interval if you mess something up. But we're going to go back to the original, which is just the right position. So I recommend whenever you come into the screen, always make sure this first interval is selected before messing with it and moving it around. Because if it's not, you're going to run into the issue that I just had where I was, for some reason, selected out here, and then I moved it around, and I was like, okay, that looks good. Then I realized that, the first interval is still regular, but then it slowly moves to there as an animation. So you want to keep that in mind. I'm sorry that was a little bit more of an advanced technique there, but it's just something good to know. And something you probably won't have to mess with much if you're not really doing too much crazy stuff with your videos. That's essentially how you add text over a video and how you manipulate it a little bit. Now, one last thing we're going to get into for the beginner techniques here is these different tabs up here, because these are really, really important. Another important thing is the edit button, the view, insert tools, options. A lot of these really come into play more advanced stuff. I don't really see any reason why someone would need these options up here. If you're just beginning, if you're just putting a video clip in there, you're cutting it down, maybe adding some music and text over it. There's really no reason to ever come into these. Again, these are just more advanced stuff. I've really never had to touch any of this. Out of the box, for what you see and whatnot, it all is pretty good. So I really would recommend not touching any of this. The only area you're going to use is file, but we're going to come back to that. So, and same with all these tools too. Again, none of these you really need to use, except for the import media, obviously, because that's how you get stuff into your project. But as for the rest of this stuff, I personally never even touch it, so really there's no need for you guys to touch it. But the important ones are what's down here. So these 5 different tabs here, the project media obviously is your media for the project, for the video, the different clips, sound clips, pictures, text, you name it, will all pop up in your project media. Explorer is just another way to bring project media in. It's just your entire computer and it shows all your files. I never really use this. I actually would honestly recommend just getting rid of it just because there's no reason for it when you can just hit import media. But the important ones are transitions, video effects, media generators, and I guess project notes that can, take it or leave it. I don't ever use it, but it's cool. But the really important one, transitions. This is obviously if you had, let's say like right here, I have this cut in the video, right? In the video, I don't think any time passed between this cut, but let's say you wanted to add a transition in between there, right? You have a lot of options up here for transitions. We have flash transitions, dissolve, gradient wipes, irises, linear wipes, you name it. And it's kind of cool. It shows like the animation if you hover over it. So you can kind of see what you're looking for before you drag it into your video. And there's also some other ones under these folders. So there's a lot of transitions in Sony Vegas 17. So I recommend just kind of going through here and messing around with them, trying them out, just to see if there's any you like, or just add some flair, pizzazz to your videos. So my favorite are the gradient wipes. Let's just choose a soft noise. We're going to click it and drag it down in between the two video clips, and it will automatically add a fade in between both of these, which is super nice. And then as you see, it brought up this little window, and you can kind of edit it a little bit. You can change up some of the transition. I normally don't ever touch with this stuff just because the transition is pretty much good as it is. What I normally do is change the size of the transition, like how long it lasts and stuff like that. Now, as you could see, it doesn't really show a transition because there was no time that passed in my video clip. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click. I'm going to get rid of this transition here. So we're going to go up and get rid of that. I'll get back into that in a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clip some of this out of the video. So Essence and Sally, right click the clip, delete, drag this back. And now there's actually a cut here. So like when you're playing, it's just going to cut out, right? There you go. It switches to this part. So now we need to transition. So I'm going to drag that back there. There we go. And now we should actually see transition here. So if I scrub through this, I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard, by the way, to go frame by frame. If I scrub through this, you can start seeing it fading in. Looks pretty dope. There you go. And that's a transition. I'm pretty sure this is going to lag pretty bad, but let's just see if it'll... Yeah, it didn't even show it, really. I apologize about that. It's whenever I'm recording with OBS, my computer lags pretty bad. So that's pretty much a transition. That's how you add them on your video clips. Again, you can make them shorter or longer by going to where the gradient wipe is, dragging it in for shorter, dragging it out for longer. That is transitions. Video effects are also very important. This is where you can change your coloring in your videos. If you have a green screen, you can chroma key it out. I have a separate video all about green screens if you want to go check it out. I'll probably have a link in the description. Highly recommend checking that one. But you have everything from radio blurs to pixelations if you have to censor something in your video, newsprint, mirror. I mean, there is so much stuff here that it's actually mind-boggling how much effects Sony Vegas puts in here. It's pretty nice. And really, a lot of it just has to do with dragging and dropping. So again, let's say there's a section in your video, Essence and Sally, that you wanted to put some effects on. There's 2 ways of doing this. Again, you have the video effects tab right here. You can just select a video effect and drag it and put it on the clip. Or you can click the little FX button on your clip itself. Brings up the exact same thing. Only downside of this is there's no visual representation of the effect before you add it. So I usually recommend not doing that if you're a beginner, just because, again, you're not going to know what these effects do. So this is the easiest way of doing it because it shows what the effect looks like before you actually drag it to your video, which is super awesome. So let's say we want to change the color of it or something, right? Let's just say we want it more magenta. So we're going to bring this down to your video clip where you want it, let go. It's going to bring up this little window. Every effect has its own effects window that you can manipulate the effect inside of, which is really nice. And as you can see, I'm already turning more blue in this video here, but you can change it to more red, maybe more like purple. I mean, you can really mess this up if you want to, but that's just one of the hundreds of thousands of effects in Sony Vegas. And as you can see, just for this one clip, it's like that, and the rest aren't, because I only added it to that clip. So very cool. That's video effects in a nutshell. Again, more advanced features and more stuff will be coming in the future, but that's just the gist of it. Media generators are also pretty important. Now, these are a little bit harder to explain. The best way I can really put this is if you wanted a blank background, maybe if you wanted credits at the end of the video, or if you wanted just to cover something up on the video, you can add, let's say, go to a solid color, black, and you drag it down, and it's just literally a black screen. That's all it is. These are super helpful for green screening, again, for censoring, and really anything of that sort. That's under solid color in the media generators. You also have noise textures, which are pretty cool. Then again, you have credit roll, which is pretty much done for you. You just add it down and type in what you want for the credits, and it will scroll for you, which is pretty dope. And then you have color gradients, which are also pretty helpful. You got checkerboard patterns, test patterns, like, you know, the old school, like, trouble difficulty screen, titles and text. Again, this is how you add. Another way to add text to your videos, instead of just right-clicking and insert text media, you can just drag and drop something like this. But these automatically will have a transition effect with the text, as you can see. So you got action flip, bounce, coming at you, whatever, or just the default, which is the one that will automatically add if you right-click and insert text media, you get just the default. So definitely keep that in mind if you are looking at video effects. There's also some other ones underneath these folders, but that's pretty much it. So that is all of the gist of the easy to do, or just the beginner steps of Sony Vegas in editing. Again, if you want to add a fade at the end, you just grab up in the corner, drag it in, now you have fade out. Same with the audio, and there's the end of your video. And let's say you are all done, your editing is good, you got background music, it looks fine. I guess just one thing before I go. One thing is the audio slider. This is a really important one. So if you do have a background track, or if you have different audio tracks, you want to make sure your volume is good. So I usually recommend your main track being a little bit higher, maybe around 3 decibels higher. And then if you have like background music, you want to turn that down to like 10, maybe even less, maybe like 20 decibels negative. Mainly because obviously you don't want your background track to be the same level of volume as your main track, because that's just going to mess everything up. So keep that in mind for future edits. But again, that's pretty advanced. I'm not going to get more into that. Just keep that in mind. So without further ado, let's say you want to be done. You want to edit, you want to save this video to your computer. First of all, I recommend saving the track or the actual file of your project so you don't mess up something. Let's say your render doesn't look as good as you thought. You can go back in and you can redo it without having to re-edit the entire video. So go to save file and then save as, and this will save on your computer as a video Vegas Pro project file, and you can name it whatever you want and hit save. I'm not going to save this because obviously it's just a generic edit. And then once you save it, you know it's all good. You can do whatever. Now you want to do file render as, and that's how you're going to actually save the video to your computer. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, all right? And I know some people have videos just on this subject, and I've actually had to look up stuff myself because this is kind of confusing. Now, there's I can't even tell you how many there are. There's at least like a million options here for different video formats. Now, I have a favorite selected already I've made with Sony Vegas Pro 17 that I just do every single time. And the nice thing is you can set some as a favorite, as you can see by this purple star. If you have a favorite one you do all the time, I recommend doing that so you never have to go searching for it. Now for YouTube, I recommend under the Magic HEVC/AAC MP4 format. And I believe I started out just by selecting Internet HD 1080p 59.94 frames per second. That is if you're rendering it in 60 frames per second. If not, if you're doing something lower like 30 frames per second, obviously you want to choose the 29.97 frames per second version. And I recommend the one that says the NVIDIA. If you have a NVIDIA graphics card or whatever graphics card you have, the name of it should be in here because you want to use your graphics card to render, not your processor, because that's going to put way too much weight in your processor, and your rendering times are going to be twice as long. But I went in to the 60 frames per second, which is this one, and I went to customize template to make sure everything was the way I wanted it. Again, if you want to pause and make sure this is all accurate, I recommend doing the same way I have it so that it'll work best for you. I have it as the default profile, 1080p, non-progressive scan, 1 pixel, My maximum variable bit rate is 40,000, average is 20,000. In quarter type, I have it on my NVIDIA coder. Again, if you have a AMD or a Radeon, I would say it should be in here as a Radeon one. You want to select your graphics card, not the processor, because Intel would be the processor. You don't want to do that. Preset, again, high quality. You could, if you have a really cruddy computer, and I mean a really bad computer like Windows 95 or something like that, you're going to want to do high performance. Otherwise, I'd say high quality. And then RC mode, VBR, just keep that the same. Audio, I usually kept this the same, 48,000, 192,000. System, use master display settings, and then your project. You want video rendering on best. I never usually have it on use project settings. I think that's by default, but you want to do best. And then use project settings, and then default. And that's it. Then if you want to save it, since you edited it, you can name it whatever you want up here under the template, and then hit the little save template button here. And then hit OK when you're done. And then you can save it as a favorite, which I recommend doing. And then make sure under render options, the render loop region only is not selected. I know some people have had that happen by default, and it will ruin your video, and it literally will only render a small section of it. So make sure that's not checked. And really, you don't need any of these checked, so make sure none of these are checked. And then make sure it's saving in the right folder. So if you hit browse, it'll put it, you can go through your whole computer and make sure it's saving to the right spot. Name it whatever you want it to be, hit save, and it'll go to that spot. You can also rename it here too. And then when you're done, hit render, boom, and it will save to your computer where you want it to be. Now, again, depending on your computer's processor and your computer's graphics card, that will tell you how long it will take to render a video. Now, using a graphics card, I do have a NVIDIA 1070 Ti, and mine renders, let's say a 10-minute video, I can render it in about 7 minutes. Now, if I use the Intel processor, which I have an i7-7700, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to render a 10-minute video. You can see the difference is pretty astounding, so definitely use your graphics card if you have one in your computer. If you don't, you're going to have to be forced to use the processor, which, again, is still possible. I just usually do not recommend it. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I rambled some parts in this video. I know I probably didn't get to everything maybe some people were looking for. I highly apologize. If there is something that you're looking for specifically in Sony Vegas Pro 17 that I didn't get to in this video, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to do more videos like this, more tutorials in the future, and I like helping people out. And yeah, if you have any quick questions, I'll also answer those in the comments as well. So leave a like to show your support. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss the next one. And hope to see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. Peace.